Hello.
You're on, Claude.
Oh, good afternoon. This is BNN 247. My name is Claude Foster, the co-host of our show each week. Uh, Today we want to talk about an important subject, and that's the Constitution, the Supreme Court, and racism, and how those go hand in hand to keep the black man in his current position in this country, meaning that we're last when it comes to education. We're last when it comes to economy. We're last when it comes to every criteria that determines equal citizenship. And this because we've never been equal citizens in this country. So our show today is we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the laws that were passed to give us citizenship. There were seven civil rights acts passed during the Reconstruction era. All of them basically were struck down during that period because citizenship is a state uh, function. And as much as the federal government tries to tell the states what to do, we're a federation of states, and the states have all the powers, and it's very limited powers what's invested in our federal constitution. So today we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what some of those laws are and what some of the solutions that I think that we can suggest going forward. And one of the solutions I have suggested, and many other voices are beginning to suggest it, is that we need a majority black state because that's where the power is invested in. Because we control counties, that there are majority black counties, there are majority black cities, but the power is in the state house because they're the ones that make the laws. So unless we have a majority in the state house, those laws that will equalize our quality of life, equalize our citizenship in this country, will never be implemented or passed. So welcome to BNN 247 for what we hope will be a lively discussion about the Constitution, about the Supreme Court, and more relevant today, about how racism still impacts and affects our lives. So I want to bring in the host of the show, Warren Smith-Bey, so that we can begin that discussion.
Shalom, shalom, my brothers and sisters. I want to welcome you to the Black News Network, the real voice of Black USA. And this today's topic is coming from the desk of the emissary. I am your host, War Smith Bey, broadcasting the War Report from a Black point of view. We do not own the rights to the music, but we do own the rights to what we say. And like our introduction, Mr. Claude Foster, I want you all to give him a warm round of applause, welcoming him to the Black News Network.
Glad to be glad to be on the show for this important discussion, Brother Warren.
All right, we're on the show now. So today, like he
Oh,
said, this is a damn topic that really bothers a lot of us that are understanding the political standpoints of Black people in America. And what it really boils down to is Black people political status. That is what we are missing right now, our political status. And without having a political status, we are not protected under the Constitution of the United States. Now, and when I say that, there's two things here going on. And if we don't start to recognize that there are two things going on, which is the United States of America, which is all the states, and the United States by itself, that is the District of Columbia, the corporation. If we can realize that we function under two different separate entities, then we can get to the point where we understand why our citizenship is null and void. For one, right now, we are citizens of the United States. And when you see that written, you're going to see citizens in a capital letter, starting the sentence, starting citizen off, and of the United States. But we are not citizens of the United States of America, which is where we have to be in order for us to have our constitutional protection. If we don't get it there, we never gonna get it. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different parts of this that we're missing right now. There's a natural. Some of us walk around and talk about, oh man, we need to get reparations, but how we gonna get reparations if we ain't naturalized? Some people even walk around saying we need to be nationalized. So it's a confusion and confusion. And our objective today is to decipher, break down, and explain how this shit works.
Well, part of the confusion is when this country was formed, we were identified in that corporation, in the Articles of Incorporation, because, like you said, we're a business, really. So the Articles of Incorporation identified us as being non-citizens, other persons. Even slaves in the free states were not citizens.
Yeah.
They had no rights, even though they were free. And the argument was made by the South to count us as whole persons for representation, but the northern states didn't want that over representation by that region of the country. And so that's where the three-fifths clause came from. But the Constitution, remember, many of the founders read philosophy, right? The philosophers believed in natural rights. I mean, we are human because we have rights as human beings. You can't take away that personhood. But citizenship is a whole nother point. And that's what you talk about in terms of the documents, that the Articles of Incorporation, because that's where we are not, it's like you have a contract, right? And he says, okay, the man is entitled to this and the woman is entitled to this. Is it a 50-50 contract? No, it's a 60-40. Sometimes it's a 70-30.
It is such an issue, though. Claude gonna come right back in as soon as he's ready. But without that constitutional protection, our people are being shot down in the streets. I mean, hundreds of us are being shot down in the streets. And ain't nothing we can do about it because we cannot be protected under the constitutional protection. And that's not only the state, that's the nation, and it's the world under the world court. But if you are not properly categorized in this country, you are not going to get recognized. And that is the big issue, Claude, is that we're just not recognized. And we never gonna get recognized until we get our nationality corrected. And Abraham Lincoln gave us the path. Also, another a person gave us the path. Noble Drew Ali explained the path. And once we understand the path, then we can get there. We can get our status corrected, and then we are recognized. Because if your social security number, your name on your social security number does not contain that extension, Bay or L, all right, let me just say this and I'll bring you, Clark. If your social security card doesn't say Bay or L, then when that police pull your name up in that computer, it's all under codes. And your code is a non-citizen. And that's why they can whoop your ass and shoot you if you don't act right, because you don't belong here based on your status in the system of America. Take yourself off mute, brother. but it's something. All right,
Hasn't the non-citizen question been answered though? After all these years, aren't we citizens
it,
in
it's
terms?
I got it. I figured it out, Claude. It's answered, but we ignore it because we're comfortable and we're complacent in our status in America. We're making money, we're retired, we're doing everything the white man do, but they are citizens because by being white, they are citizens of this country. But in the state, but we as black people, when I got to break it down from the beginning, and then we're going to keep it going. But like I said, this might go on a couple of hours today. But to start with, we walked off the plantation under the auspices of the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1963. So we walked off that plantation as freemen. At the same time, the Confederate Army was a part of the United States before they rebelled, and so now they need to get reconnected to the Union. So think about it this way: here's an entity coming off the plantation as former slaves. Here's an entity coming off after coming off the Emancipation Proclamation as a former enemy. So now the enemy, as well as the slave, has to be reunited or united into the Union. Well, who got unionized? I'll just say that the Confederate Army. Everybody in the Confederate Army took the oath of amnesty, and they became citizens of the United States. Again, but they were citizens at first. They separated, and now the Union was so gracious, they brought them back in. All they had to do is just say the goddamn thing. And
Well, here's my point.
Mm-hmm.
The 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 13th Amendment freed indentured servants, right? Right?
Yeah.
It covered indentured servants.
Yeah.
You ain't seen no legislation around indentured servants. Once they were free, they were free.
Yeah, where'd that come from?
There hadn't been no Supreme Court cases. They hadn't been adjudicated in no state courts or nothing. Their whiteness just became white. There wasn't no slaughterhouse cases. There was no Plessy versus Ferguson for indentured servants.
Keep that in mind, that Plessy versus Ferguson, because we're going to talk about that.
So what I'm saying is indentured servants didn't have to go through the courts.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't no legislation, no civil rights legislation needed for no indentured servants.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't no.
Always been about us, though, Claude. Black.
But the 13th Amendment freed them and us at the same time. What is unique about us, and not unique about them? Why didn't they have to be interpreted by the court?
Yeah.
And people say,
some of those were white. They were
now,
white.
all the indentured servants were white.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the ones that came from Europe that
didn't have their pay fare to get here.
Didn't have their pay fare to get here, and they had to serve 7, 10, whatever number of years. They were freed. But there was never no question once they were freed about their citizenship status.
Right.
There was no court that needed to interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
Their validity as a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the color comes in it. That's where the black skin comes in it. And the question becomes, and you constantly raise this question: can a black person ever be a full citizen in this country?
Not to this day. And let me explain it. Some are, because they went through the process. Now, like I was saying a few minutes ago, all the Confederate soldiers from the top down took the oath of amnesty. Now, those black people coming off the plantation, not a single one was even offered the option to take the oath of amnesty to become a citizen. Nobody walking off the plantation was given the opportunity to take the oath of amnesty to become a citizen. So what that means,
They just say you're free.
Yeah, they just say go ahead. They liberated the plantation owner liberated you, so get on off the plantation. So all those slaves walked off the plantation. Hundreds of thousands of slaves all across the USA walked off the plantation. Not a single word from Congress, the House of Representatives, the president, the governor, the mayor, nobody, the council people, not a single person said, hey, black people, you need to become citizens. In order to do that, you need to take the oath of amnesty. So show up down here so we can get you in as a citizen. Nobody said that. They left those black people off to be on their damn own. And
But
they
what
did
about our,
not know. They didn't know. If you don't
what
know something, how are you gonna do something? You
what about
gotta
our
know.
what about the 7 civil rights laws that they passed to make us full citizens? That didn't
Mhm.
work.
Well, you want to say you got them, you know what they are? You got them.
I got them here. Let me see. Well,
Okay.
that were uh without it going into each one of them. Like there's a whole listing of them.
Mhm. Right now,
Starting with,
right. Go ahead.
I mean, it was 7 total. I don't,
You
it
don't
was
have to know.
7
I
total.
mean, we
I don't,
know that there was 7, but that's all
right.
we need to know. But the problem is right now, there's a way to get to be a citizen, and that around the end of the show or after the first hour and a half or hour, we're going to give those steps. But I want you to write down this number. Claude, check this out too. It is 109 space US space 3 space 1883.
What's
I'm gonna
that?
say it one more time. 109 space US space the number 3 space 1883. And I'm gonna tell you what the last sentence of that UCC code, Universal Commercial Code, uh, uh, this number.
Hmm.
It says the Supreme Court declared. Listen, the Supreme Court declared that the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment is void and unconstitutional. So this ruling by the Supreme Court has not been rescinded. So when you find stuff like this that they hide from us, that puts us in that category where you just a damn Negro in this country and you ain't got no damn status. You can't be, ain't nobody gonna recognize you as a unit, as an organization, as a people. You just a damn entity. You're still chattel property here in this country. And if you don't correct your status, you are screwed, because they telling you from the 1920s on to now that you have to correct your status. And that's your birthright. You have to get your birthright right. When you do that birth certificate, you're done. You have to undo that birth certificate, because that birth certificate is directly tied to the corporation.
But what do
It's
you, but what do
the
you,
United States of America.
but what do you say? Like the Dred Scott decision gave blacks the right, basically gave us the right to sue and be sued.
No, he lost. He
Right,
lost that case.
right.
Huh?
But what I'm saying, that's what the case was about.
Right.
Whether or not the case wasn't necessarily about black, but the case was about citizenship. It was
Right.
the slaughterhouse cases, but it was about citizenship.
They
You
made
know,
it about citizenship.
right,
But Dred Scott wanted to be free.
right,
And he was free in Missouri. He was a freeman. He did what he wanted to do, but he had relatives in another state. I don't remember where he went, but when he went to that other state, they were still slaves. So they made
right.
him a slave. And he told them, hey, I'm a free man from Missouri. So why
But
are
they
you?
over, but they overturned that, right? The
No,
government.
it's never been overturned. Never. It's
I
still
thought it was
an
over.
active Supreme Court case. It ain't never been rescinded. So
Well, the first of those 7 acts was passed in 1866 over the veto of President Andrew Johnson, overturned the Dred Scott decision by
Mhm.
providing blacks the full and equal benefit of all laws and proceedings. That was the
did,
first.
did it the
Post,
Supreme Court do that? Who did that?
the it was the first act passed by Congress after Reconstruction, and it
They did
overturned that
not
Dred
pass
Scott
it.
decision.
Listen to
No,
the. Let's go through the wording of that again. Can you read it one more time?
okay. The, okay, there was 7 Civil Rights Act passed during the Reconstruction era. The
Mhm.
first passed in 1866 over the veto of President Andrew Johnson, overturned the Dred Scott decision by providing blacks the full and equal benefit of all laws and proceedings, as is enjoyed by white citizens, especially the right to sue and be sued and to own property.
So you telling me Johnson rescinded the Dred Scott case from? Oh, I didn't know that. If he did, I don't see how he can overrule the Supreme Court.
That's what the 14th Amendment did. The 14th Amendment was intended to provide additional constitutional pro- protections to those legislative procedures.
So the Dred Scott case was after the 14th Amendment, right?
No, the Dred Scott case was before the 14th Amendment.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what was the ruling on the Dred Scott case?
Let me get it right
I
here.
know it. I can tell you. Can I do it?
The Dred
No.
Scott decision, I just read it to you. The Dred Scott decision provided blacks the full and equal benefit. Over the
That was
14th Amendment overturned the Dred Scott decision.
okay.
That's what
So,
gave us full citizenship.
but the
So the
ruling,
14th Amendment, the 14th
Dred
Amendment,
Scott lost the case. Well, the case went to
right,
the Supreme Court, and the
right.
Supreme Court said that no black, no Negro can be a citizen of the United States.
No, that was the
Right?
Dred Scott. That was what the Supreme Court said in the Dred Scott
Right.
ruling. But the
Mhm.
14th Amendment overturned that
It
Dred
came
Scott
after
decision.
that. It
It
came
came
after.
after that.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so with the 14th Amendment, we're full citizens.
So you
Now,
telling me nobody has to go back to the Supreme Court and rescind that order?
the Dred Scott decision did it. I mean, the 14th Amendment did it.
To me, it doesn't work like that. For
Well,
instance, let me give you an example. Robert's Rules of Order states that once a person puts a motion on the floor and the floor restates the motion, the floor owns the motion. So the individual, nobody in there can change that motion. It has to go back to the individual for it to be changed. Otherwise, it's exactly like they put it out there. But nobody has went to the Supreme Court to change that order, even though the 14th Amendment, like you said, gave people, black people, this right. But we're going to chop that up because I got some answers for those things.
Right.
That is not the way it is. Huh? Go ahead.
The next 2 acts passed in 1866 and 1867 stated a crime to kidnap or carry away any other person, whether Negro, mulatto, or otherwise, with the intent that such other person shall be sold or held in involuntary servitude.
That's
So,
the third one. That
right.
is the third.
That was the third.
Okay.
And then the next two, and
Let's
then
talk.
go ahead.
All right. So now you're telling me the federal government passed the third Civil Rights Act, and they told the states this is what you have to comply by.
Mhm.
Somewhere in my readings, this is what I read, that the federal governments can pass any law they choose, but
Right.
the federal government will not go down into a state to dictate how the state implements that law. The federal government is out. So when we got the South and we got all the Confederate generals still in power, they can manipulate their loopholes. They can manipulate that law the way they want to, because that's exactly what they did. They manipulated it, and they still beat our ass, killed slaves, and white folks walked. We saw that in all the court cases we watched.
Right. and they do it through administrative and judicial fiat. What that's my point about
Answers
the
up.
until we are the majority
You put yourself back on mute.
until we are the majority in a state, we will constantly be debating this question of equality
Hmm. We don't
until
want to
we.
be equal. We want to be left alone to do what we do.
So
Don't put barriers
what
in
do you
front
where do we want to be left alone at?
in this country.
I mean, any place.
Everywhere. Listen, don't get in our way. If we build a community, let us grow that community and don't come in and try to destroy it like you did so many other ones in the past. That's what I mean.
So just leave us
My-
alone.
Huh?
So wherever we roam, just leave us alone.
Leave us the hell alone. That has been the problem all along, Clark. They do not allow us to progress. And everybody's familiar with Tulsa, the Black Wall Street,
Yeah.
but there's 50 other ones, black communities where black people were run out of town and the land was taken. Everything they owned was taken. That was one black guy. I was reading about it in the 1619 Project. He was a very successful person. That he was an entrepreneur who came out of the plantation. He started a delivery service. He started a cab company. He had crops growing in the field where he was getting cotton, and so the white folks got jealous. So what did they do? He had went out of town to try and get some more business. So they went to his house looking for him. He wasn't there, and his son knew something was up. So the next day, another white man came to his house looking for him, and he still wasn't there. But when he came from out of town, he didn't go home. He went downtown to the store. He had a storefront, and as soon as he pulled up in downtown, those two white men walked up to him and shot him with a shotgun and a pistol. And his son had ran to town right during that occurrence, and he saw his daddy on the ground bleeding to death, and these white folks laughing about it. And they took all his shit, and that night they got out of town. And the rest of his family said, we will never buy land or anything else in America. We're going to lease it because they are going to try and take it. They took his land. They didn't try, they took his shit.
So can we ever be citizens in the sense of what we talk about on this show? Can we ever be a citizen,
Full citizens?
a full equal under the law? I mean, we are supposedly.
This has been the issue all along. Your status has never been changed from the plantation. And it's easy to change your status. And you have to be naturalized. If you don't ever get naturalized, then your status is still with the corporation, the United States. You don't belong. When you get naturalized, then you are a member of that state, a citizen of that state. See, they even they fuck with us like this, Claude. They're gonna either put a capital C on this, they're gonna capitalize our whole name, like in a straw man talking for us. They got all these fucking codes that screw us every single time, every step of the way, unless you decipher all that bullshit that they put in front of us, and I have done that.
But Brother Bay, what's going to trump the color? What's going to trump color? You're saying that citizenship, if they make us a full citizen, that's somehow going to trump color.
It's not.
Black skin. What's it going to do?
When you become a full citizen, you take the oath of amnesty, right? The next thing you're going to have to do is go to the Social Security Administration and change your status. Because you notice when you do your tax form, what does it talk about? Everything about your status: married, single, Social Security number, name. They want to know all of this stuff. So when you on mute again, when you know this stuff, when they know all this stuff, that's your status. And your status has nothing other than black, Negro, or whatever the hell it is. So when you get your citizenship and you go there with your document saying, hey, I've been naturalized, I need my status change, you're going to submit I-55 055, a form 055 to the IRS, and then they'll change your status in the system, not the IRS, the Social Security Administration. And once they change your status in there, it's like a domino effect through every government agency in the country. It changed.
But Brother Bay, when the cop pull you over, what's changed?
That's what I'm saying. Every time your name is pulled up, it's got codes beside it.
But what does that do for you as a black man?
Codes beside
but what does that do for us as a black person?
Your code changes because
what does that do? What's the practical implication of that?
The how it helps us. I'm just going to use the number 1 and the number 2. So right now, if you just now getting your citizenship, before that you've been a number 1 all your life, and then when you change your status at the Social Security Administration, you become a 2. So when they pull your name up with your driver's license, it's going to say 2 or whatever the number may be. And if the cops see 2, which means, oh, this person is bona fide, he's a citizen of this country, he has a nationality. But if you got a 1, you're still in the process. You're chattel property. You're still property. You have not become a human being in the eyes of the documents of America. You have to get your status and claim your birthright. And if you don't do that, you're still chattel property. That's the problem. We don't realize that that's all we are if we haven't done it. But why would they tell you? Because nobody said anything about the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. That is the first one that was ratified. But look, when they put that shit up, they only put the 13th Amendment with 2 sections. See, that's bullshit. You go to any government entity and you mention the 13th Amendment with 20 sections, then they're going to shut the hell up because they know you know. They know what that shit is. But the worst part about it is our people in positions to train people that are coming up don't say shit about stuff like the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. They should be teaching that shit on every level. Nobody knows about it. But look, you can pull it up right now. Just pull up 13th Amendment and watch what pops up. The 13th Amendment with 2 sections. But now you put in, I want the 13th Amendment with 20 sections, and then watch what pop up. It's going to shock the hell out of anybody that pulls this shit up because it has the real rules that we have to follow. And if we don't ever start learning this stuff, we fucked. We ain't never gonna get there. But the worst thing about it is that it's so simple to change your status. And you're always gonna be on the bottom tier until, where you go, Claude? You're always gonna be on the bottom tier until you're going to be on the bottom tier until you change your status. And then you might move up in front of Turks or some shit like that, but who knows? But right now, if you look at the stratification of race, black is on the bottom. You're below Mexican, you're below Chinese, you're below Italian, you are below every single entity in the world. You're not, huh?
I guess what I will pose to our listeners through you is, what's the practical application of that once we become so identified?
As a citizen, you can go to another country and say you're an American. Let's say you say you're a black American, right? Right? Let me just make sure we're on the same sheet. You're a black American?
Uh-huh. Well, I'm black and yeah.
You're a black American. All right, you going down to let's see, to the car lot.
Well, okay. Let me answer that again. Okay.
Okay.
I guess the question you said, are you a Black American? We wouldn't ask a white person, are you a white American? We say, are you
No,
American?
no, we're trying to establish our shit. I'm going to tell you why those white and black shit don't work. If you go down to the car lot and you say, I want a black car, what are we doing here? We're putting an adjective in front of a noun,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the color of the car can change to 10,000 different colors, but it's still a car. So that's why we gotta understand that being black is not a condition we're in. You can't, I mean, we call ourselves black. That's an American, that's a human being given name. We have a race by God. God gave us a race. We are descendants of the Canaanites and Moabites, and which means we are the original Hebrews. And if we don't understand that, then we need to do some more research and dig down into it, because the problem is right now, according to Noble Drew Ali, is that we are disconnected, which happened on September 5th, 1774. We were officially stripped of our status in America. So we have to reestablish our status by reclaiming our birthright. And until we reclaim our birthright, we ain't nothing but chattel property here in America.
So what you're saying is we're like cattle or sheep or what any other kind of thing.
Just like that. Mm-hmm. I was that for fucking 60 years, man. I was chattel property, and they know this, Claude. Why would they tell you? Why would they help you change your status? They will not. They don't want to see us change the status because they don't want us to know who we are, because they don't want to lose the land that they took from us. Every piece of this land belonged to us. You know, you can't, like we talked a few shows ago, Claude, a million years ago when Pangea existed and the tectonic plates started to move and separate, this continent moved over. Americas moved over, and Africa stayed. They probably moved too, but the Atlantic Ocean came in between.
I've heard the argument that like Europe is not a continent. Like Europe is not a continent. It's only 6 continents, not 7. And this goes back to your understanding, your argument.
This is Northwest Africa.
So I guess so what you're saying is that the people that enslaved us, this whole exercise of political nuance, legal nuance, and all this kind of stuff, is just a distortion.
That's right. What do they do? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The first thing they do when they come into an area, they establish the judicial system. They establish that even before the executive system or the other system, because they do it because they do not want people to do what they just did, because they are dirty, low down dirty. They're going to take, kill, and plunder whatever the hell they can. You got the executive, which are the mayor, the governor, and the president. You got the legislature, which is they make the laws. You got the Congress and the House of Representatives, and then you got the judicial system, which enforces the laws with judges on local, county, state, and federal levels. And look at all them levels of judges. And that way they got absolute control of what's happening in that area. They took this land.
So the fact that we got lookalikes at every level of government, right? We got black this at the local, state, federal level, whatever. It's never going to change what we're talking about.
It's going to take a major. It's going to take a coup, and he's going to have that like 50 different coups all over this country. It'll be another 100 years before things change for us.
But blacks don't want a coup. I don't think black
They
folks.
don't.
I think.
We act like
I
we're
think.
afraid. I ain't gonna say all of us, but some of us, most of us act like we're afraid to upset the rhythm of a city or because we're comfortable. That's the problem. We need to be uncomfortable. And they not gonna make us uncomfortable because they know if they do, we're gonna kick some ass and take some names. So they're gonna
So they
give
just.
us as just enough to survive, just like they did these people on the plantations. A black person, all the kids were raggedy, the parents was raggedy, the daddy was dusty from working in the field, the mama had on a dress and washed clothes in a bucket. You know, why would they put a family in that condition and they living high on the hog over here in this big ass house up on the hill with people serving them dinner, and the people down here, the black people, can't fucking eat a pork chop. And if they get caught with a pork chop, they gonna get beat. That's the kind of shit they do. These are dirty people. They're not gonna change. So we gotta get it in our hearts that fight fire with fire. Because if you don't, you're gonna keep getting your ass beat. There's three things we messed up with. Turn the other cheek, protesting without a fight. We shall overcome. That's some bullshit. You better hit that motherfucker back if he hits you. You gotta excuse me. I'm hyped the people. I'm telling you.
Go ahead, my brother. I mean,
we gonna overcome this shit. I'm saying these three, this system, they took this land. This is Akibulon, northwest Akibulon, Northwest Africa. And and Abraham Lincoln said it, there are 10 million dark people west of the Appalachian Mountains. How are we going to get through those people? He was trying to figure out how to send expeditions through on the other side of the Appalachians without them getting killed. So he said, well, are we going to have to pay a toll, or are we going to have to fight to get through there, or are they going to let us through there for free? He asked those questions before he got assassinated. Now, when he said there are 10 million dark people west of the Appalachians, what did that tell you? There's a lot of black folks over there. So now they're figuring out how to take control of what they have, just like they did the Indians. We're going to take control of what they have, and then we're going to make y'all act like us. Otherwise, you're savages. But they're calling the Indians savages now, but they come in and killing all the families, the children, the babies, the hogs, the dogs, everything in that Indian camp, they killing it. But the Indians are the savage. They're the ones who started scapping people, selling the scaps. I still don't understand that. There are probably people with that shit in their house now. I can't let that go. But we got to get past the point where we're saying, let me participate. We got to take that shit over. That's why I tell my kids, when you walk in a room, own it. It's your fucking room. Don't go in there feeling less than anybody. I don't give a damn who's in it.
But you're telling your kids to own it in the construct of
brain.
No, in the construct of being inside of a book of knowledge. This is the book. This is how everybody in the book's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. How you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to perform, how you're supposed to whatever. Mm-hmm. Within that construct. How do you get outside of that construct? You're saying get outside of that construct.
It's going to take years. Like I told you, it's going to take about 100 years because we have to be twice as good. You know, if I hadn't have been the way I was, I would have never got where I am now. Same with you. You had to be good, better, or even the best in order to make it in certain areas. Even when you go for an interview to get a job, you can be the best interviewer, you can have the best resume, but you're black. If you got an education, that's a threat. They're gonna hire that white boy with no education, and then they're gonna get somebody black to train them. And we stupid enough to do it. That's what I'm saying. We got to get smarter than them, because they use our intelligence to make them look good. 90% of the shit they got, we did it for them. Even the Constitution. What do they say about the Constitution? There are signers of the Constitution. There ain't one place on there they said they wrote it. They didn't write that shit. The Moors wrote it. And they are the signers of it, but the Moors wrote it. And then when they say a more perfect union, what the hell is they saying right there? That there's a union already. They're going to make it more perfect. And that union was the Moors. And they kicked everybody's ass and killed everybody so nobody can tell what the hell they did. And that's why they're so adamant about our history not being told. Huh?
Well, I will say, there's different levels, there's different degrees of knowledge. You can be smart within the system, but the system kind of guides the smartness. What you're saying is to be smart outside of that thought process, that type of education. You got to get beyond those walls of what you've been taught.
Yeah,
what you
go ahead.
Beyond the walls of what you've been, because everything I discussed is within the political framework of this country. Because that's what I grew up in, that political framework. What you're saying is that
we're limited.
That we're limited, and I just and you're saying that you can't make that system better then.
If I tell you I'm white, and you looking at me, I'm telling you I'm white, and you don't believe me, so I pull out my ID card and show you that I'm white. That's what I mean. You gotta step outside your comfort zone and prove things that are different. If you put white on there and you look like me, they ain't gonna change it. That ain't their job. If I want to be white, I can be white. If you want to be white, you can be white. And nobody can change that. All your documents can say white.
Yeah, you can put that on. You can put that on. Yeah, you can indicate your preference on the census form.
There you go. That's why they ask you. They don't tell you what you are. They ask you what you are. And
so how do they know that?
We're so, let me just say this while it's on my mind. We're so caught up in this compliant mindset, do good mindset, that we getting screwed to the damn bank. Every damn day you're getting screwed because you're trying to be compliant. You need to step outside of that shit and figure out why you got to be compliant when they don't. You in there busting your ass in the office, and next thing you see is 2 or 3 white folks walk around with a damn coffee cup. What kind of shit is that? You in there working your ass off, and that's what you see. And next thing you know, so-and-so just got a promotion.
So in some ways, Brother Bey, even that's not too broad of a step away from slavery, is it? Compliance.
It ain't even far. They can't really do what they want to do to us, but if they had the opportunity to put us back in slavery, you better bet your damn dollar they would. And with no doubt about it, they would put us right back in slavery. Look what happened after that the emancipation was signed. Within that month, the 30th of that month, the black codes came out. The 30th of January, 1863, the black codes was sent into dissemination.
All 7 of those era legislation was undermined by the states. You're right. Black codes, everything undermined.
So the nation freed the slaves, but the states figured out how the loophole to put them back into slavery, which was worse. Think about it. When you're a slave, that slave owner gonna make sure your ass gets something to eat. You ain't gonna get much, but you're gonna get enough to live. You're gonna get clothes. If you get sick, you're gonna try to get you well. They're gonna, if your teeth hurt,
because you was a commodity. You was an asset.
But then when we got freed and they came out with the black codes, which means you were going to jail, they were putting thousands of people in jail a day. every single day, thousands of people were going to jail. And when they went to jail, they went straight out the back door to the back to the plantation. So now the plantation owner ain't gotta do shit but work the shit out of them. Many black people died on that plantation. But I mean, quick. And then when they die, all he do is go back to the damn jail and get some more and work the shit out of them. And they die on the job. He just kick them over there and bury that nigga right there. And he go get another one. That's the system that screwed us. When America gave the South, Johnson, the person who took over after Lincoln, reversed the general's order about the 50 acres or 40 acres and a mule. Mm-hmm. And he gave at the same time, rather than putting people.
Andrew Johnson, yeah, you're exactly right.
Rather than putting people in charge of the southern states, he gave it right back to the Confederates, the Confederate generals. All right, y'all put your own governors in, your own legislature in, and then you're back in the Union, but put that in. So they don't give a damn about what the North is saying about slavery. They gonna get them niggas back on the plantation. And they did by incarcerating them for dumb shit. Never, not one white person got put in jail under the black codes. Ain't that shit? You got jail system, but they ain't never had an overpacked jail because as fast as they come in, they go out. What plantation what you own? Hey, Mr. Billy, you want to come down here and get your slave? We got him locked up right now. You can take him back on the plantation. That is the most foulest shit that ever happened. But the federal government couldn't do a damn thing about it. They couldn't stop it, even though they had put the law out.
But the civil rights movement ignored that history. It was like
right movement.
Right.
What do you mean?
Well, didn't it ignored that element of our history? It ignored any kind of accountability for that. You know, any.
They didn't even talk about it. They didn't talk about it. And so that put us in the mindset, right, to let us participate. Like, that's why we went to the counters in Woolworth, because we wanted to participate in what the white folks could do rather than go around to the back door. And that was the problem. We worked too damn hard to participate in what they were doing. We should have just worked in the background where they might needed us to work, and then built our own shit. Not go in there and try to spend our money with the white folks. Don't spend shit with them. Spend our money in our neighborhood. That's why we can't keep a damn dollar, because we were too busy trying to participate. You know, the things I look at with MLK, what was his last move was to work with the trash men in Memphis. Mm-hmm. Now, the Memphis trash people, all they wanted to do was participate. That is the problem. Why couldn't they form their own trash company and work in their own neighborhoods? They didn't even run the trash truck through their neighborhoods. They didn't have to work for the white folks. You know, you get in there, you get it what you can, you get the hell out. You don't stay in there and damn do what they tell you to do. You know, if Martin Luther King hadn't went there, we would have had a bigger problem in Memphis. They killed a black man in that truck. That's what they were talking about. That's why it all started. But the best thing we can do right now is, because of our political status, is correct our nationality. Because you can't go international. I ain't talking about military international. I'm talking about civilian international, and proclaim that you're a Black American, because you can't prove that. You can't go abroad and prove that you're an African American.
Well, your birth certificate.
Your birth certificate proves that you belong to the state. That's it. That's all.
Birth certificate says that you're a citizen of a state that's part of a union. That's
the
what your
union ain't DC. The union ain't DC, the corporation. You have to correct your status with the corporation. Right now, it is not corrected. And they
So
can use you because you're property right now. And they're not going to say a damn thing about it. Why would they when people are lining their pockets every damn day off of us? And did you know you don't have to pay income tax? You don't even have to file. The law says well, I'm saying you when you work in a job, you don't have to have your money deducted from your paycheck on a job. That's what the law is.
I thought the employer has to
No,
deduct it.
no, you do not. The law says it is no law that requires an individual to allow a company to deduct money from them for the federal government. There's a law that says that. And that's what people don't understand. If you don't read, you don't know. You got to read. You got to read. And that's been a big thing with us. And, at one time they would not let us read. They hated it because we learn shit when we read.
But we read within the construct of what we're talking about. We're limited in that frame. Mm-hmm. You're talking outside of the book of the U.S. book of knowledge, if you will. Mm-hmm. You're talking out of another book.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am.
That's the book. They never taught us that book in school.
We don't know shit about it.
In college or anywhere.
We're obligated, though. We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our children to learn this other book that you're talking about. Because we don't know that other book. They hid the book. They won't even tell us there is another book. We have to find it. We have to figure it out. But Noble Drew Ali told you, because I want to read something to you.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you what he said. I hope this is the right book. I don't think it is.
Now, Noble.
His name is Noble Drew Ali.
Okay.
I'm looking for. Probably in this book. Give me 1 second here, Claude. I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna tell you what it says. Okay, I got it. Let me put this back in, then I'm going to tell you. I mean, the information is out there. We just have to go get it and use it for our benefit, and we can make it. All right, so it says, this is Act 6 of the bylaws that Noble Drew Ali wrote. I'm going to go ahead and read it. It's a short paragraph. It says, Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. That they must know that they are part of and parcel of this said. Now, you got to look up said in the Black's Law Dictionary. This said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people of or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time. Now, all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized. You hear that part? You got to claim your free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. He's telling you in 1929 that this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to claim that in order to be recognized. If you don't claim it, you're not going to be recognized. And that's what the problem is now. We're not recognized.
So how do you feel? How do you feel about the white philosophers that the founders relied on, their teachings, Aristotle and all those guys? How do you view those people?
There were two. One is Walter Plecker. I think that's his name. Walter Plecker. Let me see.
Well, in
Let me see
particular,
if I can pull him
Aristotle,
up
who
here.
said that basically slavery was just part of nature.
I was trying to put him up, but I can't bring him to the front. But Walter Plecker, I'm going to pull us out a second so you can see it. Then I'm going to put us back
Okay.
in. So Walter Plecker is the guy who changed everything. You couldn't be an Indian, you couldn't be a mulatto, you couldn't be black. He said everybody will be colored. He made everybody colored. He came up with that in the Immigration Act of 1924. Now that was Walter Plecker. Now the other guy that helped us is this guy. I'm gonna pull him up and then we'll talk about him. Let me put it up there and take us out the way so it can be seen. Did the best he can to outline our history and make sure that Americans knew that we had a connection to Africa, that everything we're doing here is our connection to Africa. Melville Hershkovich, he started a course of African studies in college, in a university of New Hampshire, some damn where, but he's the one who developed the positive curriculum for black people.
But the,
Melville,
but the
huh?
but the founders relied on
The one, the signers.
yeah,
Why they,
well,
that's all you hear is the signers, right? You don't never hear
right.
the writers. You ever notice
Well,
that?
they relied on the philosophers in terms of the
The
philosophers.
philosophers were the mowers. That's who wrote it.
Well, the
And
white
the mowers
philosophers. I
wrote
mean,
it to their
was
demise.
that was Aristotle more?
He was black. You been to Nuremberg?
No, I have never been to Nuremberg. I've been to Germany, but never been to Nuremberg.
What major city you went to over there?
Uh, uh, uh,
It's
Frankfurt.
been, it's been a while, right?
It's been a while. My
Well,
brother was in the army at Frankfurt, and
okay.
I went over to visit him.
All right. In all the Catholic churches, those cathedral type churches in Germany, go, if you even pull it up online, you'll see the stained glass on all these churches, right? But more
Hmm.
especially in Nuremberg. I personally saw this, and I didn't know what the hell I was looking at, but I took pictures of it. In Nuremberg, Germany, in the cathedrals, the Catholic cathedrals, all the stained glass got black people in it.
Hmm.
Black people. I'm like, God damn, what's this shit? I'm looking at it, so let me get some pictures of this, because those churches been there hundreds of years, but they all got black people. They got some white people too, but the majority of the people in those things were white. I mean, were
Hmm.
black. And that's across the whole country. But nobody talks about all the contributions that they've done to churches, to cities, to the growth of lands.
Right.
That is sad, though. I think the biggest problem we got is we're asking them to let us participate. We don't have to ask. We have to know what we need to do to get our
So
act together.
I guess what I'm saying, we're never going to break down
Break
this.
down what?
We're never going to break down America, right? So some people argue, at least my thinking, you know, being a part of the civil rights movement and being part of the struggle was to make what we got better, not to tear it down and create another framework You're not suggesting tearing it down.
No,
You're suggesting understanding our place in it.
if we don't get it right, we're going to continue to be chattel property. They have hoodwinked and bamboozled us with that damn "we are citizen" shit. We're not citizens. Let's go to the amendments. We talk about the 14th Amendment, which is one given, let them tell it, giving us citizenship, right?
Right.
But it contradicts the Fifth Amendment. And that is where the problem is. But then I read you something a few minutes ago, and you wrote it down: 109 space US space 3 space 1883. The Supreme Court declared the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment void and unconstitutional. That's that's still a document, and it's not rescinded. So the Supreme Court got the authority over everything in America, even the president. So you can come out with anything you want, but when the Supreme Court rules on it, that is the law of the land. You can't change that. So when the Supreme Court ruled on Plecker, what's his name? Well, who was that guy we were talking about?
Uh,
Plessy Ferguson, right?
right.
When we were talking about Ferguson, Plessy, I don't know which one of them, we said that
Plessy.
no Negro can become a U.S. citizen nowhere. And there's no law that no law for black people that a white man has to respect, which means they can come out with any law they want at the federal level, and push it down to the states. But when the state get it, they still don't prosecute one individual who goes out and kill a black man, and then they take him to court, and then they acquit him. They let him go. No court can enforce the law. They don't have to enforce the law of the federal government. But if they do it so much, like they did with them three boys, Freedom Summer, then they are going to get caught up in investigations by the federal government. And that's why they all went down to Neshoba County, Mississippi, for those 3 civil rights workers. But they killed an awful lot of us. They murdered millions of us. From the time they took those 10 million black people on west of the Appalachians to now, they have ruled us. It's almost like it's a dictatorship that they got in Washington, D.C. They said for the people, by the people, but we're working for the government. They get paid. We get paid.
There were 7 pieces of legislation after the Civil War to try to make us equal, right? In the 1800s. There's been legislation passed in the 1900s. There's been how much legislation do we need as a people? I mean, come on. The 1800s should have did it.
Yeah.
Why do we need it in the 20th century? In the 1900s,
because we did
60s
nothing.
And the 70s. Why do we need legislation?
Why do we need it at all?
70s, 80s, and 90s. No other group has been so legislated.
Why do we need it at all?
Shouldn't the 7 laws that was passed right after the Civil War, shouldn't that have been enough? Or right before the Civil War? Shouldn't that have been enough?
If you got barriers in front of you every step of the way, the problem is no constitutional protection. Our political status is screwed, and we have no constitutional protection because we are not citizens.
Obviously, we don't. Obviously, we have no constitutional protection. Otherwise, we still hollering about passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, this act, this act. I mean, that's been settled law. The right to vote.
They mess with that every single voting season, and we never get it right. We're never going to be. If we don't do it for ourselves, it'll never be done. We cannot do anything for us.
But it goes back, brother, to the states, right? The
Mm,
reason why we keep passing these laws because the states keep fucking with us
that's
because
right.
that's where the power is.
That's right.
Te- Texas and Austin, Austin is the most liberal city in the country. They call it Austin, California.
They do.
But that legislature that sits right in the smack of Austin, California, can fuck with black folks all over the state.
All over the state. Yep.
And they're
Yeah.
in the most liberal city in the country. One of the
I
most
think
liberal cities
Texas
in the
had
country.
the biggest killing in one of these little cities in Texas was the largest killing of black people in the country.
So
They made it an all white town, and that town was remained white for like 30 years, 40 years.
I mean, we keep needing legislation, DEI, affirmative action, this, that. We keep needing laws, federal laws. I mean, at what point does the Constitution matter to us? That's the
It's
end of
like
the
a
story.
game. Picture it like
Yeah,
this. It's a game. We're
it is a
playing
game.
football. We're playing football, right?
It
Our
is a game.
opponent, our opponent is on the other side facing us. Now, we're gonna move our guards out because we already know the quarterback is gonna roll to the left. We know this, but they don't know it. So we're the ones right there on the line trying to move forward, and they already got a plan to get around it by messing up whatever it is you bring it. That you're not gonna be able to get the quarterback. We can't get the
See,
quarterback. That's what it boils down to.
see, white folks pass laws that affect their pocketbook, their money.
Mhm.
It seems like we pass laws that still deal with our humanity. We ain't got to the money
No,
part yet.
they're not really. They're not classifying us as human. If we could just read what has been written by our philosophers, then and take it into action, all we got to do is go to the courthouse and say, "I want to get naturalized," and they will give you the document, and then you fill out that document and give it back to them, and they will say, all right, we're having a naturalization ceremony on this day at this location. And then you go to that location and you raise your right hand and get naturalized, and then they give you a document that says you are a U.S. citizen. You don't have a single thing in your possession with your name on it saying you're a U.S. citizen. Not one thing. Your social security card don't say you're a U.S. citizen. Your birth certificate don't say you're a U.S. citizen. I'm gonna show you because I got a birth certificate on here.
I don't have mine in front of me.
I got it right here. I'm gonna bring it up. Give me a sec. I mean, this is what it says. You see? Did you see the race on that birth certificate? Colored.
Mm.
That's me. That's my birth certificate. I'm colored. That's bullshit. I don't think I'm. I mean, I'm shocked to see it say colored, but that's what it say. That I am a colored individual. How can you be colored? I'm changing all my stuff as we speak.
Name one federal law that was passed that affect white people's status in this country,
The
whether
help
it's the
them
right
or
to vote,
stop them.
citizenship. No, that addresses their status in this country.
I don't know
Nothing.
one. I don't know one, Claude.
I don't know one.
Me either.
We had seven
They
passed.
don't need it though, but because they're not like us. That's the
We
song out there. They're not
we
like us.
we needed seven court decisions
To
prior to
even
the
get this
19
far.
that was prior to the 1900s. I think
Why
President
do they
Wilson
always
Clinton.
say Well, every time something happened, like a black man won a tennis championship the other day. Oh, he's the first African American. He ain't no damn African American. He ain't black either. But that's what you call him. See, they making us believe that's what we are. They
African
push
American.
that shit on us. And when you look at a form and you filling out a form and they ask you your nationality or your race, you should never put black, Negro, colored, or African American or something like that on there because you're none of those. Those are
I
all
think.
names.
I,
You can start calling yourself a Moor today. You don't because you are. That's your. And then when you start to identify as a Moor, and
but
you
more.
don't have to be Muslim, or you have to be Muslim, but you don't have to practice the religion
But
to be.
more is not on the census form, right?
Huh?
More is not an option on the census.
No, you put it on there. If
I mean,
you don't have to check any of those boxes. If it's not on there, I put it on there. I went to a new clinic and they wanted me to fill out the document. They wanted to know my race. All right, I climbed through all that bullshit on there and said it ain't my
did,
fault. They don't know what it is. you
did
know,
they did they ask you what that was or
no,
anything?
they ain't say nothing. You can do that too, but why do you come? You so easy, not you, but we're so easy to comply to bullshit, and that's the
So,
problem. We
so
want
what
to
do
get
you?
along so much and we want to participate so much that we let them bamboozle us with bullshit and we think it's okay. It ain't okay for my niece, my grandchildren, and my kids. It ain't okay for them. I don't want them having to deal with the same bullshit that we're dealing with. We got to get something moving here. And the only way we're going to get it moving is we make more people knowledgeable of this
Well,
shit that they got us under.
how do you how do you get more under more appreciation within the educational framework in this country about what you're talking about and
It's
what
not
we're
going to
talking
be in
about
the public school system. I
ever.
think we need to have more civic classes. Every week, somebody should be having a civic class for black people because we do not understand civics. And if we did civics and we learned our political status, because that would be part of civics, we we learned all these amendments, these 27 amendments to the Constitution, and we learned that the signers did not write the Constitution, they just signed it. We have to learn little things like that. Who wrote it then? Those things are the things that we have to know when we go up against them trying to change our status from chattel property to a nationality. You are Moors. When the land split, everybody black on that land were Moors.
Right.
10 million of them. The U.S. when these Brits and these white folks came over here and the derelicts and everybody else, they conquered them. The Spaniards, all them, they look white too. The Spaniards came in the 1400s.
Are
I
there
was reading,
white Moors? Are there white Moors?
yeah, they're white. Moors are every single color on the planet. They're Chinese Moors. I was reading this here book called Indian Giver,
Uh-huh.
and in this book, it talks about how the Spanish came into this continent right here and said and took over the Moors, beat the Moors down, took their land and everything else. And they are white people too.
Right.
So, same with the people coming from Britain. They did the same thing. It's so bad when we don't want to improve
Well,
because
but it makes you it creates an understanding about America being a company, America being a because everything is defined. There's no truth. They created a company and they laid the framework of who could be a part of the company, who was not part of the company.
the company got 50 shops, 50 warehouses, 50 manufacturing plants all over this land.
And got
48
and got and then
all
they
of
over And then
Huh?
they overlaid a bogus political system on top of it to give a sense that it's democratic.
Just imagine how much money each state pour into DC, the corporation.
A
The
lot.
corporation taxed the state, and the state taxed us to pay the corporation and to pay them too. I mean, 50 states doing that shit. That's a lot of damn money. How can they give $140 billion to Ukraine and a $6 billion jet that they don't know how to fly? How are you gonna teach somebody to fly one of them F-16s in 2-3 months or 90 days? You can't. That takes years of training in order for you to fly that damn thing. So they're gonna put the best
Just
pilot.
shot one down. That's money going
Huh?
one down, right? That's billion. That's millions of dollars just
Billions. You see how much press got that? That shit was bad, you know.
and
And they crashed the best pilot they got. Then why did Donald Trump would say then why he crashing? He just said some shit like that with his crazy ass. But
yeah.
that is
But
where
you
we are now. And
but you know the irony of it is
Mhm.
I guess the irony of it is you create this company, you call it America. You got, like you say, you got 50 CEOs, and you even own some territories because you went out and bought some more lands, you know. And you created a taxing system. I mean, and then it's amazing, man, that we don't that intellectually we don't see that. It just show you how the America's education system.
Making us dumb. They're not making us smart.
Because you got to remember, the best American schools ain't teaching democracy. They're teaching economics. They're teaching how to make money. The people that leave Harvard and Yale makes the most money. You know, their salaries start out at $100,000 a year for an undergraduate degree.
Mhm.
And you got black folks graduating from historically black colleges and universities barely making 50.
Yep. We're so it's such a disparity for us to them. It's unbelievable. And it's that way because we're comfortable, man. I say this till the day I die that black folks are too damn comfortable in this country. So when the shit hit the fan, let's tell you this part too, Claude. When the shit hit the fan, you have not corrected your nationality. They're gonna do what the hell they want to do with you and your family. That includes your wife or your husband or your children or whomever. They're gonna do what the hell they want. If they want to put your ass up there in the front and confront the Chinese or whoever may be coming in, then they can do that. If they want your sons, they're gonna come in and take them and draft them into the army and put them up there. They have the right to do that because you, not you, but when I say you, have signed yourself over with that document that's sitting right there in front of you, that damn birth certificate. When you
Well, but
sign
like,
it, huh?
go ahead, go ahead.
When you sign that birth certificate or your whoever signed it, all you're doing is giving the state the right to manage your children. That's why Child Protective Services has the right to take your kids. But see, there's a way out of it, and I'm finna show you how. You have to get a birth certificate within 2 weeks of that child being born. That's the law. So you get the birth certificate, and now when you get the birth certificate, wait about 2 or 3 months, and then you do this. Let me show you. I'm gonna move us out the way so you can see it. Those two documents are authentications. So first of all, I had to authenticate in the state of Mississippi. Basically, I'm telling Mississippi, hey, babe, I don't want you in my business no damn more. So I'm divorcing your ass. That's what you're doing. You're divorcing your state, huh?
Okay, that's from the state.
They're
But
not.
there,
They can't go in your business no more.
but go. Let me see the whole document again.
Okay.
Put the whole. Seal of the Secretary of State. Allows you, Brother Bay.
Good.
Yeah, I'm
So
good.
what did you gather from that?
Well, it seems to be the Andy Blend. You got a document that's authenticated by the Department of State.
Mhm.
That's I'm not I'm,
See, on the back of those documents are birth certificates.
okay. That's what I'm missing.
Yeah, it's on the
So,
back. You have to send your birth certificate.
and they're detaching you from the state of Mississippi.
Say that again, please.
They're detaching you from the state of Mississippi, or
I'm still a Mississippian by birth, but they can't use my information for Mississippi's profit. In other words, I'm no longer. Before I did this, I was a straw man in Mississippi, which I represented the state. I did this for the state. They could use me any way they chose. But since I did an authentication, they can no longer consider me as a straw man in the state. So they cannot profit from my number. They can't put me in statistics. They can't do anything with me, even if they call martial law in
but you're not in
Mississippi.
the but you're not
Huh?
in the state. You're not a resident anymore. You're a resident
No,
of Texas.
but if I was in Mississippi and they call martial law, right? They
Hmm.
could lock me up or make me stay home because I'm not. I've been authenticated. That means you do. You can't tell me that that's what I got to
Okay,
do.
well, who's going to enforce that?
Who gonna enforce it? That's
Yes,
the up to the individual. That's what I'm saying. If I can produce the document saying leave me the hell alone,
but who's going to
then you
enforce that?
can't do it. Just like being
I
a
mean,
Moor. If you're
I
a
mean,
Moor driving down the road, huh?
slaves had a document that said that they were free, but who enforced it?
Yeah, nobody.
I mean, who
But that
in
was
this
a
country?
problem from the beginning. That was a problem from the beginning. When they did the Emancipation Proclamation, this next day they come out with the 13th, well, the 13th Amendment or 14th Amendment saying that if we owe you some money, we ain't paying you shit. That's what one is it the 14th at the last sentence. The US ain't carrying no debt. So I don't owe y'all nothing. But before that, they said if you liberate a slave, we're gonna give you up to $10 per slave. They didn't. They reneged on it. The country, the U.S. did, the government did. Said, no, brothers. Even though y'all done let the slaves go, see that's how they got them to sign the Emancipation Proclamation into law by
But
saying that the federal government will compensate you up to $10 per slave that you liberate. And so these white folks liberated all of them, and they were gone. Some of them didn't though, but they did. Some of them stayed. And when they liberated them, all right, they go to the government now and say, hey, I liberated 299 slaves off my plantation. I need my compensation. So the federal government said, you ain't getting no damn compensation. They're not gonna pay for it. They like Trump. They do the same thing Trump do. Get somebody to do something and then don't pay them. That's what they did. And that's why they were so angry, the southern states. That is why they were so angry at uh, the government, at the federal government. That's why they were so angry at the federal government, and that's why they came up with the black codes. Since the U.S. did that, to the plantation owners. Would
Hmm.
they get the black codes to the U.S.? We're gonna get these niggas right back on the plantation, and this is how we're gonna do it because they were worried. How we gonna get our crops done? How we gonna pick our
Keep
beans?
breaking up.
Okay, so they were saying, how are we gonna get our crops done? How are we gonna pick our beans? That kind of stuff. So they had to come up with a way to do it. But Claude, we have had a wonderful conversation today.
It got deeper than I think you had intended. Yeah.
I don't think we did, but I want you to get your thoughts together and come out with your closing statement, and then we'll proceed to ending the show for this particular day, the 8th of September.
Well, it was a now.
Huh? Yeah, you up.
Well, it was an interesting show, to say the least. Um, it's a complicated subject, but I think discussing it and talking about it and sharing with our audience some of the nuances of what it means to be a citizen in this country and what does it mean to be an American. I think opens up a broad window of opportunity for emancipation, if you will, if I can use the word emancipation, because it doesn't have to be vote or die. That seems to be the slogan we've had since integration, since we've been integrated into the political mainstream. Is our only option is to vote or die. And I think what this show has shown, what BNN 247 has shown over the last couple of weeks, that we got other options besides vote or die. And so I wanna applaud the host as well as myself for bringing this to the people. And I'll just end it with that it doesn't have to be vote or die. Back to you, Brother Smith.
All right, I want to thank Claude for his closing remarks. And it's a beautiful day when we can have these type of discussions and in a show with all of the information we intended to put out there. So I want to thank everyone who paid attention to the Black News Network. I want to thank everybody. I definitely want to thank my co-host for assisting me or leading me in this process. So voting, that's I want to say something about voting. We are being pushed into the vote, but people have to remember that this vote is not about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. This vote is about the Senate and the House of Representatives, because we always ignore them when the president are up and fighting each other. So pay attention to your House of Representatives and your Senate. You ain't got no vote for them two anyway. Pay attention to the ones you can affect. That's who you need to be sure you get the right vote in for. Study their background and know what they are about. That is the information I think we need to know. I really want to say thank you to Claude. I'm going to go ahead and let you pull you out. But I want to say this is the Black News Network, the real voice of Black America, bringing you the news from a Black perspective. Every Sunday at 3:30, we're on here broadcasting, myself and my co-host, Mr. Claude. We come in and we do a very good discussion on whatever the topic is. You're welcome to join us at 3:30 on Sunday, but you have to let us know ahead of time. Send me an email. You can contact me at 210-872-2261. Text, leave a voicemail. Like us on Facebook, please. It don't cost you nothing. Subscribe to us on YouTube. It's always BNN 247. BNN 247. Get in the habit of saying it like that. BNN 247. The Black News Network 247. That's what we are. Please like us and subscribe. Thank you for watching the Black News Network.